Hi there. So this is basically like an encouragement video. If you're watching this video, most likely you didn't get a residency or you didn't, match as a pharmacist. Um, it's usually a very hard season watching, the other student that you graduated with, you know, get into such programs, and then you kind of feel left out, like, was I not good enough? What did I do wrong? But usually, I believe God has a route for everyone. So definitely, I would say focus more on the positive, focus more on, what can I do to make myself a better pharmacist? What can I do different? How can I make myself better? Am I going to apply for residency next year? Why is this residency so important to me? I think one of the things that some pharmacy students don't really realize is that, the pharmacy profession is very diverse. Like, there's so many things that you can do with your degree. I've seen people go on to be consultant. I've seen people go on to be sales rep. I've seen people go on to be pharmacy manager, nuclear pharmacist, clinical pharmacist, oncology pharmacist, industry pharmacies, medical science liaison. I've seen people being medical writers. I've seen people being clinical research. Like, the options are like limitless. But for those kind of roles that are kind of non-traditional roles, you most likely have to network your way into it or put in an additional extra work in order to get those roles. But once you get it, like, you might actually even enjoy it more than what you were going to like originally, settle for, which is residency. So definitely you don't want to, put your egg in one basket. If you are in pharmacy school and you're kind of wondering, like, should I do a residency? Should I not do a residency? One thing that you definitely want to reflect on is, why do you want to do a residency? Some people go into a residency to say, I just want to get more knowledge. I want to do something more clinical. But there are other roles that you can do that are more clinical, that doesn't require a residency, and you could be making literally six figures right out of pharmacy school. Like, you learn so much in pharmacy school. Most times, as a pharmacist or student pharmacist, when I was in pharmacy school, during my last year, I felt like I needed a residency to validate like all the knowledge that I've gained. And if you're, that person right now, then I want to tell you this, like, you don't need a residency to validate your knowledge. You are smart. You finished that 4-year program in flying colors. You can do anything with your degree. So definitely, I would say, put yourself out there, reach out to people. Don't be timid to reach out to people. Like, I've seen times where I've reached out to people on LinkedIn, and I've connected with like great people that are in different fields, and that's kind of how you network. Like, you can reach out to people via LinkedIn. Sometimes you don't get a response, sometimes you do, but don't limit yourself and say, oh, I didn't get a residency, I'm going to end up in retail. That's not how it works. Like, you have to put an extra foot in to get into those non-traditional jobs. But if you actually are intentional about it, most likely lines are going to fall into place for you. Like, you have to kind of speak it into existence, work it into existence. If you didn't get a residency, it's not the end of the world. Like, I remember, like, when I finished pharmacy school, like, one of the things that I did when I was applying for residency, I didn't apply to a lot of places. So that kind of limited my options. I was only looking to stay in, in my state where I currently live. And I only applied to schools. I applied to like 8 schools in total. And I applied to 1 school out of the 8 out of state. So I was like, I don't want to go anywhere out of state. But, that could have been like, a mistake that I did, but I can't take it back. So definitely, there was this one story of a girl that I knew when I was in pharmacy school, and she applied to 32 residency programs. She got 16 interviews. So one thing about the residency program as well is that you get half of the interviews that you apply for. So let's say you apply for, so like I applied for 8. I think I got like 3 or 4 interviews. People that apply to like 15, you get like maybe at least 7 to 8 interviews. So usually you get about half of the amount that you apply for. So definitely, if if you're in your last year, or if you're going back and you want to apply for residency, I would definitely make sure that you're spreading your wings. There's nothing wrong with residency, but what I'm trying to say is you don't need a residency to validate your knowledge. If you want to do a residency, that's great, but not everyone is going to get into a residency. It's very competitive, and that's where you kind of set yourself apart and say, hey, what else can I do with this knowledge that I've gained over the years? How can I make myself better? How can I, do well in my career when this step that I took first didn't work out? So definitely not limiting yourself and just thinking you didn't get a residency and that's the end of the world. No, it's not. It's only the beginning of your career. You can do this. You can work anywhere you want to. You can even get a clinical position without a residency. So don't limit yourself. You might just have to take more extra steps to gaining or filling those knowledge gaps. But once you do, or once you get in tune with it, it's a piece of cake after that. So that's my little spiel. I would not delay your time. But if you did not get into residency, you got this. You can do this. Your career does not rely on residency. Your career relies on what you're able to do with your brain and with your hands, being more practical, being more, putting the effort in to see what you want to achieve in your career is actually, the best way to go about it. All right. Thanks. Bye.